All right, strike update. SAG-AFTRA and studios to meet for a second day in talks to resolve actor strike. So that was today. So they're in second day of negotiation of hopefully getting it done. I do see that Netflix apparently is planning to raise the prices after the actors strike ends, which I kind of saw that coming. I feel like these studios are going to be like, well, we're going to raise the prices, but hey, it's going to be because we're going to pay the actors and the writers. So, I mean,
You gotta love the fact that they're not like, oh, we'll just cut our own paychecks. They're like, no, we're gonna fuck over the consumers.
yeah. Do you know who do you know who Satoru Iwata was?
No.
So Satoru Iwata was the president of Nintendo for a good while. And when the Wii U and the 3DS came out under his reign, they did not meet like their sales expectations. So they sold like way less than the Wii and the DS did. And like the board was kind of pressuring Iwata, like, hey, like something needs to be done about this. Like we gotta cut some people off to, keep to like it's because we couldn't meet profit. So you know what Iwata did?
What?
He cut his own salary, like over half of his own salary. He cut it off so that he wouldn't have to fire anyone.
See, that's a fucking boss. That's a goddamn leader right there.
Yeah, Story Water, may you rest in peace. But yeah, he was a boss.
He knew you beautiful son of a bitch.
They just don't make him like him anymore. Do you know what happened after he passed away?
Oh no.
This is cute.
Okay.
It. So he passed away, and immediately so it rained the day that he passed away, and the next day there was a rainbow right on top of Nintendo's offices. So they were like, "Oh, it's like a rainbow road from Mario Kart, just leading him to heaven."
That's strangely pleasant, actually.
Yeah, look up Satoru Iwata. He was quite a character. I adore the guy, and that's what a CEO does, not whatever the fuck Netflix and everyone else. Anyway, the writer's strike is pretty much done. And
they signed the contract limited to no AI. Good.
Yeah, they pretty much saved the profession. Like, if you can believe that. Like what I wanted the most out of this strike to happen is I want a cultural shift. It's gonna take a while to get there, but there's like a whole shift of like, I want us to get to a point where if a little kid says, I want to be a writer, I want to be an actor, I don't want their parents to be like, no, there's no money in that. Yeah, no, don't do it. Like, yeah, because when we get to that point where we don't have anything new coming out and people are complaining, I want them to remember, like, hey, we have that art because writers are doing them. So I want it to be respected, and I want kids to also grow up and be like, oh, I want to do that, and like feel like they can live off that, because how wonderful is it to live off your art? To do something that you're loving and, to make a buck out of that. It shouldn't be just locked into a dream. It should be able to happen. So that's what I hope happens. That's where I hope this strike is heading. Other than that, I don't have any other strike updates. Anything else you'd like to add before we get the shit started?
I got one thing to say, and this is a personal story, but I think it's relevant to the strike and everything you just said. You just reminded me of the story. One time I was at, and I'm not going to mention names, I'm just going to say this. I was at a friend's house, and somehow
do I know these friends?
Yes, but I don't want to say names because I'm going to put their father on blast. My friend's dad, we were all talking about our majors and stuff, and yeah, I'm an English major, right? So the joke comes up, oh, so you got a useless degree, right? Like that's the joke, like of English majors. And I kind of said, no, I have a degree that's useful that a lot of people don't recognize. What do you mean? And I made a point of saying that shirt that you're wearing with those comic book characters, that's a piece of art. If you think English is useless and art degrees are useless and everything with music and film, if you think those degrees are useless, that's fine. That means you can't play video games because that was made by an artist. You can't watch movies because they're written by writers that are artists and directed by directors that are artists, actors that are artists. You can't enjoy comic books. life would be legitimately meaningless without artists, because everything that you like was created by someone. It's someone's art. You can't fucking talk down the degree. You can't talk down the profession and then go back and be like, all right, let me go play my video games for 20 hours a week. Like, I'm sorry, you don't get to fucking do that. So, just a quick thing. If there's anyone out there that thinks that, like, oh, an art degree is stupid or a degree in writing is stupid, just so we're clear, fuck you. Just want to be clear on that.
Couldn't have said it better. So, now speaking of art that is important, let's talk about people bleeding for 2 hours.
Hey Chema.
What?
You want to play a game?
Thank you for welcoming us into your headphones. I was going to say screens. Thank you for welcoming us into your headphones. My name is Chema.
I'm Jigsaw.
Reviewing Saw X, and this is the rollback. Saw X witnessed the return of Jigsaw. Between the events of Saw and Saw 2, a sick and desperate John Kramer travels to Mexico for a risky and experimental medical procedure in hopes of a miracle cure for his cancer, only to discover the entire operation is a scam to defraud the most vulnerable. Armed with a newfound purpose, the infamous serial killer returns to his work, turning the tables on the con artist in his signature visceral way through devious, deranged, and ingenious traps. So we have the 10th Saw film. This is directed by Kevin Grudert, who before this directed Saw 6, Saw 7, the movie Jezebel, and a couple of other short films. We have Tobin Bell back as John Kramer / Jigsaw. Shawnee Smith also returns as his protege Amanda. And we have other characters played by Shinov Makoti Lund, Renata Vaca, Paulette Hernandez, Octavio Hinojosa Martinez, and Stephen Brand. So we're going to approach this, I think, in a kind of a different way. Saw is not a saga that I am profusely I'm not gonna say a fan with. It's just I haven't engaged with it enough. I've seen a couple of the movies. I've seen 1, I've seen 3. I definitely saw 6, and I think I saw part of Spiral. But before I watched this one, I cheated. I watched a recap of the story just so I can be like completely what?
No,
I cheated. Okay,
you don't get to fucking do it. No. Fuck you. You need to sit back and watch all 14 hours with the rest of us.
I just wanted to know what was happening. I never do this. I literally never do this. It's the first time that I've done this, okay?
All right. Sure. Fucking sure.
Okay? I know this is my only time that I've done this. And in order to just so I could not feel lost in this one. But I feel like after seeing it, I don't think I was that I would have been that lost. I mean, I know the timeline. I know how this works. I know this takes place between 1 and 2. And there are a lot of things I liked about this movie, and there's a lot of things that I wanted to comment on. Obviously, we're going to approach this in different ways. I know you might be a bigger fan than I am about this. I want to know how do you approach the saga?
I want to be very clear about this. I am not the biggest Saw fan, but I am a fan of the franchise to an extent. I think the traps are interesting. I don't always agree with the people that he selects. In the third one, he was testing a dude who was grieving his son and needed therapy, instead of being put in a life or death trap. I'm just saying. Versus the dude that the people that defraud others in the healthcare system. You know what? Yeah, maybe they deserve to be in these traps. But as far as people that a grieving father, I don't know about him. Drug addicts, I don't know. I feel like they need counseling. I don't know if you need to almost murder them. I'm just saying. But anyway, all that said, the Saw franchise is a very complicated franchise. A franchise with, I would say, the first 7 Saw films are very soap opera-esque with these traps. The traps are insane. But the use of flashbacks, shaky cam, the use of these grime and looks and all this stuff. It's crazy because I saw a review and I feel like it's the most accurate review of this film. It's insane that it took 10 entries for the Saw franchise to work to its strengths and make a great film. Because this movie is certified fresh. This is probably the most positive received Saw film since the original, if not more so.
Yeah, because the first one is it's at 50% on Rotten Tomatoes.
And this one I think is at 80?
Yeah, and that's considered, and 50 is considered modern. So now what I always admire about the Saw films is that there was a period of time when there was one every year and they always came out on Halloween.
Yeah.
Like, that's so perfect. And then a fucking what's
Do you know about the blood drive?
No. What about the blood drive?
So every year when the Saw films were at their peak, they would do a blood drive every year at several theaters. And if you donated blood, you got a free ticket for the movie. They saved 360,000 lives with all that blood that was donated.
Shout out James Wan. I mean,
yeah, everyone.
What a great fucking idea. Yeah.
Every year, yeah. And it was credited for saving over 360,000 lives, which if they continue to do this, I hope they bring that tradition back. I think that was brilliant, and I think they should continue it.
Yeah, because I like when they do things like that for movies. Like, I remember when I went to see I think it was The Nun, the first Nun, or no, it wasn't The Nun. Might have been Annabelle Creation. Annabelle Creation, yeah. They had a what's it called? They had an ambulance outside just waiting, just in case.
Oh,
which if you know how much it costs to ride on an ambulance just for a little bit, I don't know how much how they afford that. But anyway, I will say this about this movie. I've seen a couple of the other ones. I know the gist. I knew what I was getting into. But little by little in the background, I started to hear about this movie specifically. I started to hear best of the franchise. I started to hear Tobey Bell gives hopefully an Academy Award nominated performance. I started to hear a lot of things that usually don't come out about these movies. And I got curious, and I figured, well, you know what? I'll go see it, because there was a part of me that was like, what if I skip it? And then when you told me, like, no, let's do it, I had a hard time finding a theater. It was full. They were all full. And that doesn't happen. Like, if my closest theater gets full, I find another one and I'll try to make it work. They were all full. Like, for a weekend, like, it was completely full, and I could not believe it. I could not believe it because they recently, in the past like 2 years, my local theater chain got really, really adamant about, like, it's an R-rated movie. We're gonna ask you for your ID at the entrance, like, no questions asked. Like, we're gonna ask you. And they did. Like, I got carded for like the first time in years. And I could not believe it. Like, and my theater was full. And I went in, I sat, I ordered my food, and I was waiting, and I was kind of waiting for it to start. And then, man, this was, I mean, pardon the comparison, but this is to Jigsaw like what Logan is to Wolverine.
I like that. I like that comparison. I don't hate it.
Like I've seen enough Saw movies to know that Tobey Bell is the antagonist, quote unquote, but he's never the focus. The focus is usually the victims. And then this movie starts, and for like the first 30 to 40 minutes, it sounds one like dream sequence. There's no traps. There's no blood. There's no anything.
There's one imagine trap that he does to that guy that's trying to steal.
Yeah, one like dream sequence scenario. Yeah. But it's just a very tragic story about him. And like, you start to feel some sympathy for the devil here. And I could not believe that a movie that had this many entries and that usually is considered like a popcorn gore fest wanted to take it so seriously. Because like, James Wan, what I like about James Wan is that he is horror, but he's whimsical horror, you know? I don't know if you remember, but in the first Saw movie, the Billy the Puppet has like ruby slippers, and like one asked for that. He's like, he's gotta have ruby slippers. Like, why?
I don't remember that. I believe you. I don't remember that.
Because he's a fucking whimsical guy. Like, this is the guy that put a giant tentacle monster in the middle of Aquaman banging a drum, you know, that like that's the kind of he's in a silly, goofy mood. And yeah.
No, sorry, I was gonna say, it's funny that James Wan, when they were designing Billy, so Billy the Puppet has never actually been called Billy the Puppet in any Saw franchise. Did you know that?
Yeah. We just know it because we know it. Yeah.
Fans called him Billy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's stick. Yeah. Yeah. And then we got this movie that, like, for the first 30 to 40 minutes, I was like, this is not a Saw movie. Like, this is almost like it's like the setup to a revenge movie. Like, it's yeah, and like it makes you be on his side in a weird way. Like the movie ended, and I had to like clean like some like negativity on my shoulder. I had to be like, what? Like, just remember, like, I don't know. I don't know if it makes sense. Like, I was in a weird.
You cheer for him.
Watch it. I mean, they shouldn't have fucked with him that way. It was karmic justice by the end.
See,
I am not judge, jury, nor executioner, but like, god damn, you evil people. Evil pieces of shit.
No, fuck that. I'll be the judge, jury, and execution. No, these people deserved it. Look, when they say, okay, part of the problem, I think, with the early entries was there were some crimes in there that I don't know were worth murder. Like, again, father grieving his kid, drug addict. Everyone's different. In the first movie, who are the two guys? One is having an affair or attempts to have an affair, but doesn't. He thought about it, but he didn't do it. And on the other side, we have a dude whose job it is to take pictures of people, right? Is to follow people. I don't know if they deserved it, but these fuckers deserved it. They were scamming cancer patients, people on their deathbed. You know what? They're fine. Go ahead, put whatever trap you want on them. Fuck them. Which I think was also interesting because we got to see parts of John Kramer and Amanda, his assistant, his protege, in ways that we never expected before. Which in the other franchise, they killed off Jigsaw, the killer, technically in Saw 3. And then he kind of came back for the Jigsaw movie that was like, what, part 8? Then we had the weird Chris Rock one, which was technically a knockoff killer that I actually kind of liked. It's a cop procedural partially. But then we get this film where you sympathize with Jigsaw at first. You understand why he does what he does, as far as like him like grieving and he has cancer. They kind of left out the part where his son like died in the womb, like due to forced miscarriage due to some drug addicts. But nonetheless, Kramer, takes a chance and they attempt to perform surgery. And I think he's too smart for them to pull this kind of trick on him. One, he's able to figure out where they're at, because remember, they kidnap him to take him to where they go. But second, they during the surgery, he's just conscientious enough to look at something and be like, why are they turning the screen?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And he goes to thank them. They cleared out. It's very clear this was a scam. He checks the back of his head and he sees no scar. And he realizes he's been duped. And to quote Hoffman, you try to scam John Kramer? It's the dumbest thing you could have done. And he brings
I call that epic bad luck.
Oh, man.
Absolutely terrible line. Absolutely shitty line. It killed the moment for me. But yeah, whatever.
No. And then we get, so Amanda tracks these, get people down. And the thing is you're kind of cheering for Jigsaw and Amanda at this point, which is also a weird thing because in the other Jigsaw movies, you never watch Amanda and John Kramer, their reactions, them cheering, them hoping people survive. At one point, to get the information, he straps pipe bombs to this guy's forearms and he has to cut them off, right? After he already got his information. The guy succeeds in his trap, and then you see John Kramer helping him. Like, you're going to be okay. I'm going to, like, administer medical attention. Like, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Which is weird because you did this to me, but then you're administering aid after I survived, which is odd.
Not gonna lie, I thought when he took up the pipe bombs and he survived, you know how he leaves like a little like med kit like next to him. I thought for a second he was gonna open the med kit and the tape that was playing was gonna be there, like the tape of like, oh, this is how you become a surgeon, like with this, like I thought that was gonna be in there, but no. And that's something that I was sadly not fully like I know Kramer from like the few movies that I've seen, but it kind of hadn't hit me completely that like if they pass the challenge, he's like, no, they're clear, they're good. Like like he genuinely did help him. Like when the other girl who was the assistant at the house, when she passes her test, he immediately goes like, get her to the hospital immediately. Like
she needs medical attention for her burns.
Yeah, like it's immediate. Yeah, which I don't know. Maybe you can shed some light on this. Like, has this happened before? Like when they survive, and do they take them to the hospital? Can they be like, okay, I survived. I'm horribly disfigured, but like this guy's the jigsaw killer. Like,
not often.
Does that not happen?
Not often. He'll administer aid himself. Like the first doctor, the guy that cut off his own foot.
Yeah,
John Kramer nursed him back to health. Like he stitched up his wounds and he nursed him back to health himself.
Yeah, because he becomes his protege later, like
correct.
2 movies after. Yeah,
but it's not just the people that become his protege. He will they'll get out, and by the time they get out, the police are typically on their way or almost there. Like you have a pretty good chance of surviving if you survive. You're gonna get medical attention like almost immediately. Like they kind of plan it in that way.
Okay.
Which. Props to him, I guess. Like he's a man of his word. If you survive, you walk away. Like you fucked me over with my cancer. I'm gonna let you walk because you fucked up your forearms to the nth degree.
Can I just say like a random thing that I really like about this movie is that it takes place between 1 and 2. I love that. So Tobin Bell and Shawnee Smith, who plays John Kramer and Amanda. I love that they didn't try to like digitally de-age them or add makeup to them. Like they were just like just them. Like just let them
just shut up and go with it.
Yeah, and like because it would have been extremely distracting, and like I know that it's them. Like I don't need them like digitally de-aged or anything. The effect would have looked horrible. They're in the movie too much. I like that they just kind of let them like go. And Tobin Bell, I loved his performance in this. Like I loved it. Like he really can. He's got like a very specific voice and such a way of how he walks and how he moves and how he even looks. Like there's a moment where like there's such a sadness in his eyes that you really. It almost doesn't match like what he's doing. Like it's quite incredible. Like what he's so good at playing this character, and I love the moments that we got to see them. I wanted here's the thing, and this is the movie nerd in me thinking, but like picture this. The movie starts, business as usual. He's coming out of his chemo, he's going to the support group, he hears about this miracle cure, he goes to Mexico, he gets it and everything. The moment when he comes back into the lab and he sees that they're gone and he breaks the bottle. Like, imagine this. He breaks the bottle, he drops it, you see like a shot of the bottle broken, and imagine that's when the title screen would have come up.
Saw X?
Like imagine Saw X after that whole thing, like 30 to 40 minutes in.
Shit, that might be the biggest delay. I wouldn't have hated it though. I wouldn't have hated it at all.
I feel like it would have split like the whole thing between like, okay, your Saw movie starts now.
Yeah.
But I love that we had that because it made everything else. The movie was very quiet and very like serene and a very like colorful, which is a weird thing to say for a Saw movie.
Well, see, that's part of the thing. They wanted to differentiate. So when I saw a few of the interviews, and they said that was on purpose. They wanted to differentiate it from the other ones.
Yeah. And I love that they did that, because you can really tell that this was made out of, it's a weird thing to say, but I feel like this was made out of love. Like, this movie feels like it really was made like out of love for the franchise and out of love for this character. Because they could have very easily just not
gone back to the well.
Just do the same thing. But this one, maybe because I'm not an expert in the franchise, but I feel like you could watch this without having seen anything else, and you can pretty much get it.
That's correct. Yeah. So I think part of this also has to do with the effect of like, do you remember when I talked about Puss in Boots? That's a weird comparison, but how I said it was great because I think people that grew up as fans of Shrek got to make this film because they grew up with these ideas and now they're able to apply their ideas to the franchise that they love. In the same aspect, granted, the director had already directed other Saw films, but I think enough time had passed to where he could apply ideas that he always had to this new franchise, to this new outlook on it. For example, one thing I fucking adored was when they trap the main 4 people, right? They're all in one warehouse together to watch each other go through their traps. They tell the first girl, you need to saw through your leg and get enough bone marrow to stop that thing. Otherwise, it's going to cut your head off, right? With the saw.
Yeah.
Amanda cheers her on. Amanda's like, you can do this. Like, you can survive. Which is fucking nuts because you put me in this, but they don't want them to fail. Yeah. They're like healing through trauma. Their philosophy is completely fucked. I want to be clear about that. But the idea that John Kramer and Amanda are cheering these people and they're like, you can survive this. Just don't think, do it. It's so twisted and I love it because it gives more layers to these characters almost of these psychopaths that think this is the only way to really treat your problems is you need to go through an incredibly traumatic experience to appreciate life more on the other side.
Yeah.
It's nuts, but I loved it. And I loved John's reactions to it too. Because you see him squirming. You see him going like, or like, oh God, this is kind of hard to watch. But, and again, that's not something that you normally see in the franchise.
Yeah, and I like how the relationship between John and Amanda is very much expanded upon. And I like how there's even a moment when they're talking about how the girl Gabriella, who's the assistant at the house, no, the assistant at the house.
The radiation. Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they're talking about how like even Amanda relates to her. She's like, she did drugs. That's not a sin, you know? And John is like, well, we all have free will. And she tries to like be like, no, like I get how she is. Like I want her to survive this because I know where she's coming from. And it's a weird way, like it's a weird game that they're playing. But I feel like this, more than any other Saw film, really shows that side of them. And I can't believe that the movie did this because they could have just, this whole movie just, they could have not done this. They could have very easily just done the same thing. Just like, oh, put them in another position or put them in a different. Yeah, play the hits. But the fact that they decided to actually try and do something new. This is like, remember when we saw Halloween Ends? I remember how like we appreciate how experimental it was, but maybe it wasn't the right time or the place to do it. And it wasn't exactly what the fans wanted or what the movie didn't land the way that it should have. It was a good rise, but it didn't land. This one, I think, plays with how we perceive Saw to be, and it played us. Like it really did. It really played us. And it showed us what it could be. And I don't know how you make another one after this one. Really. It's very unique, and I very much appreciate it. When the movie ended, I kind of looked around at the people around me to like check their vibes, and I heard a couple of people be like, "This sucked. Like this was not as good as the other Saw films. Like, what is this?" And I went like, "I don't know, man. I think people are gonna walk in expecting something, and you're either gonna walk out liking what you got, or you're gonna be like, you're gonna be expecting like another soft film. This one is trying something a little different. The last one, Spiral, also tried to do something different, and this one tries to like reconcile both the original fan base and the new people that are gonna come in through this one.
Yeah.
I feel like this one adds a ton of spirit and heart into the franchise. Like watching the rest of the saga with this now as like part of the context of the ongoing canon, I feel like it's gonna change a lot. I feel like it's gonna make you when you see John doing something in the other movies, I feel like now, because you know that he also went through this, it's gonna change the perspective, I think.
I think you're partially right. I think part of it is also the fact of like I'm almost wish that the other films didn't have such a sustained look and vibe. It's the Marvel problem, but like to the 11th degree of like all these movies feel the same. All the first 7 movies do feel the same. It wasn't until Jigsaw, the 8th one, that the whole series kind of got a bit of a facelift. It looked more cinematic. It looked updated for modern time. This movie, like, it does the smart thing where it makes the bad guys people that it makes sense. You know, if they do a sequel, I want them to go after bad people, not like, again, grieving father. I don't know if he deserved death. People that defraud cancer patients, fuck them. They kind of tried to go a little bit that route when it came to, I'm trying to remember. I think it was Saw 5. It was Saw 5 or 6. They go after the healthcare industry. One of the things is that the Saw franchise has always been partially about social commentary, whether it's drug use, addicts, people with mental health issues, or people that may want to attempt self-harm, stuff like that. In one of them, they actually do deal with a health insurance agency where they actively have a team finding ways to not cover people with their healthcare plans that they already paid for. And he goes after them. And did they do it well? I don't think so, because most people don't remember that part of the story. But nonetheless, no. I think the guy's right. That one review was right. Play to Jigsaw's strengths. Have him punish people that we all want to look at and say, get him. And I hope if they do a Saw 11, which, I mean, this movie already did double its budget, like in 4 days. I imagine they're going to do a sequel. Go after the people that deserve it. Go after people that we as fans can be like, you know what? Fuck them. Let's see if they pass or not. And go from there. They can build. Tobin Bell, God, he's 81, but he can still go. Also,
it's so strange to see a man of his age to be skinny.
It's not that weird. It's more like he's thin. He has a very good metabolism. But real quick, I want to talk about some of the traps. I feel like there was such a high disparity between the trap difficulty, because on one, it's you have to cut through your leg. On another, you have to open your skull and get your own gray matter, and then break your foot and your hand. Like, I feel like there's a scale here, and it's not really fair.
Well, I feel like they went on, degrees of weight, I think, personally.
Of how much they had to do with the con?
Yeah, I'll be honest, the first trap, well, the one that he dreams of, the eye one, I'll be very honest, because like this is the one that was in the posters, and it was like the one that they showed at the start in order to hook people in, and just so they don't leave, just so they confirm that they didn't walk into the wrong movie.
Yeah.
That one is just breaking a guy's fingers, and I try to not think, okay, what would I do in this situation, because it's not a good way to enjoy this. But I feel like I could have done that one. I feel like
I agree. Yeah,
I feel like that first one is like, what was he doing one by one? Just go all out. He's gonna heal you afterwards. So like,
or just fucking turn the dial, just like 1, 2, 3. Ah, God, all 5 of my fingers.
Yeah,
dude, it's just your eyes or breaking your 5 fingers. I don't know about you. I want my eyes.
Yeah.
Throw it out there.
Yeah, I'd rather have that. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, so it's that. But like the other ones, I didn't even want to think what I would have done. No, 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 thank you. To me, the most not gruesome, but like to me, the most like the only scene that really got me like, I don't like. I was about to turn away. Was not even one of the traps. It was actually the scene where the main doctor, the evil doctor, cuts open the girl to get her intestines out and use them as rope.
really?
Yeah, to me that was like the one part where I was like, "Oh my god!" Yeah,
Wow, that didn't get me at all. The brain scene got me just because I was like, dude, like that's the worst one, I think. Well, it might be. I
yeah.
don't know. It's hard to say. Cutting off my own leg, or opening my brain. Which I also wonder, could I have picked the leg? Could I have been like, can I just like cut off my like left leg below the shin?
No, it was already it was predetermined.
They didn't mention that. They just said use bone marrow. Maybe I could
No,
have used my arm if I
uh,
could have.
no, she had like the markings on the leg.
No, I saw that part, but I was
Yeah,
like, fuck you, I'm gonna survive on my own terms. Let me cut off my goddamn foot. Or I could be wrong. Anyway,
I w- I wouldn't have played with the specifics with them.
you're like, I'm a lawyer, you don't know better. But anyway, um we get to so let's talk about like the double twist. The first one is Parker turns out to be the partner of Dr. Cortez. Dr. Cortez.
Yeah,
No, I'm sorry, Dr. Cecilia. I'm sorry, Dr. Pedersen. Turns out to be her partner. He initially came in pissed off, like posing as if, like, oh, this bitch conned me too. Look at my throat. And John's like, oh, okay, you're one of us. Like, you got conned. Don't worry, I'm gonna deal with it. Ends up pulling a gun on them. And then the doctor pulls, just so we're clear, fuck this doctor. The most evil thing, one, she ties Jigsaw to one side of this weird blood boarding thing. And then instead of tying Amanda, which would have made sense, they tie a child, which is
oh yeah,
one of the only times that the franchise has never gone. This franchise has very few limits. Kids are one of them.
yeah. And also, do you think it was interesting to for the first time see like Kramer in one of his traps?
I thought it was interesting. He has technically been tested with like he attempted suicide and lived, but yeah, I thought it was interesting seeing him in one of his own traps. Um,
Yeah.
and it
Go ahead. Yeah.
no, you first.
No, well, I was gonna say this is probably my only criticism of the movie. Um, I couldn't tell that the guy was gonna betray them, that it was gonna be like her partner.
Yeah,
But I did feel like they got them into their own trap. Like I never for a second thought like, oh no, they got him. Like I knew that it was gonna come back to him, like
yeah.
having planned this. Because that's the kind of guy that he just is. He just kind of knows.
He plans for
And
everything.
yeah, so I felt like the part of getting them like being threatened with a gun to the trap, I feel like that was a little weak. I feel like they could have maybe tried to done something in a way that like it felt almost impossible to them ending up there, because I could see coming that they were gonna be like that they saw that coming. Because even the guy at some point just goes like, if you were the only one chained up to that thing, why were there two like
Yeah,
why were there two spaces there for two people? And but I will say this, it led to my favorite moment of the movie, and probably one of my favorite moments in movies the whole year, which is when they go back into the operation room and to get the money, and they open this bag and a clock is there with a timer, and the theme song Hello Sep starts playing,
yeah,
and just that's one of the most underrated musical scores I think ever. It's
yeah. I agree.
iconic. It's fantastic. I think it's a little too good for the franchise, in my opinion. And
Yeah,
it's so good. And then when it starts playing in that moment, like dun 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 dun, 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 dun. Everyone in my theater just started like floating. Like it was like
Oh,
the movie starts so back, man. Like it was a
yeah.
beautiful moment because like it didn't ease into it. It just started playing it. And it's like, oh, you got God, bitch. Like it was so amazing. And like that's why we go. That's why we're there. That's why
For
we're
those
there
moments.
opening night for moments like that. I'm so glad that a moment like that was not spoiled. Even if I could see it kind of coming, I
Yeah.
was so happy to have seen that moment. Like that whole moment to me was like worth the price of admission. It was a wonderful thing to see. Because like them and then the gas started to come in and like the trap stopping and like John going up to the kid and being like, you are a warrior, like you didn't have to do that and you were a warrior. And it was a weirdly wholesome moment. Like it was a weirdly strange moment, and like
It
it kind of
endeared us
felt
to
good
John because
in a lot. Yeah.
is in a weird way. One, he was like, he's a fucking kid. Why are you putting him in this? And she
Yeah.
says, we're gonna test your philosophy. You let yourself die, unless you want the kid to die. And in a twisted, fucked up way, it is kind of his philosophy twisted on him.
Yeah.
But on the other side, him actively telling this kid like, don't pull. Well, what does he say? Don't
No jales.
no, yeah, no. It's funny to hear him say Spanish. No
Yeah.
jales. It's funny, but anyway,
Yeah.
when he pulls it, the kid seeing that John's dying pulls it, and
Pulse.
it's
Yeah.
it's just such a great moment of like the idea. The way to survive that trap was very obvious. If you're unselfish, if you agree to take the hit for one another for a little bit, you can survive this trap. You just have to
Yeah.
work as a team. But that's so not within the bad guy's mentality of just, hey, take turns, we'll be fine, we can get through this.
Yeah.
That it works. Like it's such a great idea for a trap. If you just trust each other, you can survive this one. In addition to that, the idea that there's secondary locks on the locks is fucking perfect. The fact that it's like, oh, I don't need the key, I just need to do this, and you can get
Yeah.
out. I love that. I love the fact that, of course, fucking Jigsaw, John Kramer would have those like fail-safe pieces on the necks that no one would think to do because, well, you just have this thing wrapped around you. You don't know the fail-safe. Of course, he would have that. And it fits so perfectly within his realm. If you look up his villain wiki, it says besides the fact that he's affluent, besides the fact that he has resources, he has a genius intellect. He thinks 10 steps ahead of everyone else for all possibilities. And 9 times out of 10, it works out. He knows what's going to happen because he knows people. And the fact that
Yeah.
this film only upped that to the next degree. And again, the part where he tells the kid, you, my boy, are a warrior, and gives him the money, you can't help but endear him. No, none of this game over part. He's just like, let's go.
Yeah.
And
There's
he's
even a there's even a little moment where like Amanda kind of like ruffles his hair and they all leave together. Like it's
weirdly wholesome.
weirdly wholesome. Like why am I feeling good about these people? Like but
Well,
I
because
think that's what a great story and execution do. Like when you put like you kind of end up choosing the lesser of two evils. Because like the other people were like evil.
yeah, like
Yeah.
it's weird, but it worked. And then we get the after credit scene where Henry wakes up in a new salt trap that's gonna give him scars, but I'm like, okay, where's his test? And we see John Kramer and Mark Hoffman, and there's still more work to be done. Um, critical response has been positive, and if all the money is there, I do see them doing a part 11. Like the director already said, we have an idea. We just need to know that, hey, we can do it. Like we need the green light, which I hope they do. I want to see what's the next part of this story.
Um, I'm not. No, not in a way that I am like rejecting another sequel. It's just like I kind of want this one to have an impact. I wanted to be a little bit influential, and I wanted to be like analyzed and talked about, because I do feel like it's going to add a lot of context, and it's going to make watching the other movies very, very interesting. And I do want to. I feel like this is Tobin Bell's movie. Like it's his movie. It's his. Like when we talk best performances of the year, I will be shocked if we don't talk about this one. Because like it's weird because do you watch the Flash show?
What do you mean?
Like the Flash TV show, like the CW show?
Not enough. No.
Okay, so in seasons like 2 or 3, Savitar, God of Speed, shows up.
Uh-huh.
And it's just a guy in a suit, but like his voice is Tobin Bell, and like it's incredible. Like he is so menacing and so terrifying. And I remember like watching that show and listening to his voice coming out of that suit and being like, Jesus Christ, I'm somebody called God. Like I'm fucking scared. And
yeah.
The fact that I am now sitting here kind of feeling sympathy and warmth towards this character, like I cannot believe it. Those motherfuckers played me. Like cannot believe they did this to me. And I can't believe that I enjoyed this movie as much as I did. I really thought it was going to be just okay, fine, like I'll watch it, but no, like I am shocked at myself for liking it as much as I did. And I gave this a 3.5 out of 5, but I think it's closer to a 4. I had a blast. I love the use of the music. I love the performance. I can't believe it's 2 hours. It didn't feel like it's the first movie. The last 2 hours, it doesn't feel like 2 hours. And I wouldn't be shocked if I end up watching it again. Like I can't believe that I enjoyed it as much as I did.
I agree. Say probably a B plus, definitely on the higher end of horror films. God damn, this year's been such a great year for scary movies. I don't know what we're gonna get next, but everything's been so good.
Yeah, between this and Scream and Talk to Me and Evil Dead Rise and Megan and Always Afraid and The Nun. What else have we gotten this year?
Too much. Damn, I just looked up a Funko Pop for Saw, signed by Tobin Bell, $600.
Jesus Christ.
I'm good.
Could probably get that way cheaper if you just bump into him at a con.
Probably.
Speaking of horror movies, we are now in Spooky Month, and doesn't stop here. Doesn't stop with this one. We're gonna have a lot more to discuss. We have The Exorcist Believer coming out this next week. And so hopefully we do that. If it's possible that we do, I want to talk about this Mexican horror movie that I told you about, which is Huesera.
Yes, that I want to cover next week as well.
All right, then we'll try to shoot to do those next week. There's bound to be other stuff that are going to come out. My local theater is doing back-to-back screenings of the original Exorcist and The Believer, so I might go to that. Pretty excited about that.
I'm going to see Exorcist double feature because I've seen it, but I've never seen it in a theater.
If you can believe this, fun fact: The Exorcist was the first movie that we watched, you and I together.
Was it? I thought it was Jaws and then The Exorcist.
Did we watch Jaws first?
I don't remember, dude. That class was so long ago.
I know. For the purpose of this story, we're gonna go with The Exorcist.
Fuck it.
No, because he played it on Halloween. That's what it was.
Yeah, but there's like a whole 2 months before. Like we start class in September.
Oh yeah.
Maybe it was the first one we watched as friends. Like I think did we sit next to each other? I believe it.
Maybe. Point is, let's talk about next week. We're talking about maybe Exorcist, maybe Huesera. We'll see how it comes out. Thank you so much for joining us. You can find our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. You can find video reviews on the Rollback podcast on YouTube, done by one here, Eddie Luna. And you can find our reviews every week. My name is Chema.
I've been Eddie.
And this was the Rollback. Signing off with a reminder that if you plan to travel into another country, make sure you bring your puppet. You gotta bring your puppet, man. I mean, it's not like they're gonna just have him there. Okay.
One last thing. If you're gonna go watch a scary film, I shit you not, when I went to go watch this movie, there was a lady arguing with the manager at AMC because she wouldn't let her take her 5-year-old and 3-year-old kid in to watch this movie.
I stand with the workers.
I agree. I agree.
Rules are rules, man. That's why we have them.
But why the fuck are you taking your kid to go watch this movie?
Yo, when I went to see Hereditary, there were little kids in the theater, and I don't know how they did that.
Whatever. Fuck it. Don't take your kids to regular movies. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.